What I was thinking about this morning in terms of what I wanted to share was I wanted to announce, or I guess confess, if you will, that I fell off the wagon this week. Not the way you might think. I'm capable of falling off the wagon in that way. But what I mean is, more appropriately, would be to say I fell off the wheel. And Ram Dass provides a really beautiful way of understanding what it means to be in the world, but not of it. And to understand why we do these spiritual practices, like we're about to do one of, called yoga. And he describes it like this. He says, imagine that there's a wheel and that you have one of your feet on the circumference of the wheel and the other foot on the hub of the wheel. And most of us, before we start to wake up and before we begin to have a spiritual practice, we will put much more of our weight down in the foot that is on the circumference of the wheel. And what that means is that we live much more in the melodrama of life. We are caught up in all the spinnings and the churnings and the drama and the tweets and all that is happening, and it pulls us out of our center. That other foot that is standing on the hub is the place in all of us that is our quiet, still center. And when we begin to engage in a spiritual practice, what we are simply doing is bringing ourselves over and over and over again to practices that say, shift your weight. Shift your weight from being out here on the circumference of the wheel towards being on the hub of the wheel. And when we do that, when we shift our weight to the hub, we tap into this quiet center. You could also say we tap into the mind of God. And when we remember that place, and when we can utilize that place in all of us, we can start to make decisions and respond to all that's happening out there on the circumference of the wheel in a different way. We can respond to it in a more mindful, present, and heart-centered way, rather than a way that is based in fear and drama and the spectacular nature of all that is happening out there, outside of us. So when we first start practicing any kind of spiritual practice, and the one that would come to mind for most of us in terms of getting to the center, to that hub, would be meditation. But meditation is hard for lots of us to go from being out here, being battled around by life, to sitting quietly and really being meditation is a practice, and it takes time. So initially we just start doing it, or we do things that can help us get to a quiet seat, like asana practice is. Asana is a way to get the wiggles and the jiggles out. It's a way to start to connect to our breath and our body in a way that we can get one step closer to the hub of the wheel. So I offer that to you as an understanding of how all of these spiritual practices that we do, mantra, prayer, meditation, asana practice, all are designed to help us shift our weight from the circumference to the hub of the wheel. So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes now, and just to do give you one more analogy or metaphor for how we can move through the world, being in the world, but not of it. And so with your eyes closed, imagine that you are a person gathered at a well, and you are there to fetch water. So you dip your jug into the well, fill it, and then you place that jug on top of your head. And then you turn away from the well and you start with the others that you went to the well with to walk back to the village. And this jug of water is propped on top of your head. And on your whole walk back to the village, you're talking, you're laughing, you're gossiping, you're diving into the drama of the day, both the good and the bad drama of the day. But you always remember that there is this jug of water on top of your head. So you move along your path, simultaneously being in the world, noticing it, experiencing it, digesting it, responding to it, but always doing so coming from this place, this mindful place of remembering the jug of water on top of your head. That jug of water is your still, quiet place. It is the reminder that you need to go back to a center, still, upright, aligned place in order to move through the world from the mind of God. So once more, before we practice, gather your hands together in your heart. This is another place that we honor as yogis, as our still, quiet place. The place we forget to live from, and then we remember to live from. And then we forget again, and then we remember again. And the more times we come back to this place, remembering who we are at the center, the easier the practice becomes, the more natural it becomes to dip back in to this well. Because this well, we realize, fills us. This well reminds us of the way to move through life. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Open your mouth and exhale it out. And then blink your eyes open. Look around, see life at the circumference, and let's practice.